Right, fellas, back with another episode. I think episode 11 of Documenting the Journey, and I am in the very beautiful Rock House, Mykonos, which probably looks like a classic case of fucking dream life, living abroad, etc., etc., which I get a lot of comments on, to be fair. But yeah, I feel like it's never quite what it's cut out to be, the whole working abroad thing, the whole like Bali laptop lifestyle sort of thing. Fucking hell, my hair needs a trim. And I'll get into that in a second, but first thing, Instagram is back after a super stressful week again. Having that down, it's down for 6 days in total this time, which is almost, I think, the exact same amount of time it was down last time. That was super stressed. I said I was less stressful than the first time because it was. Fucking hell, I realised that when I have 2 ears in a video, I look like I've got massive ears. I've got super self-conscious about it recently, which is super weird. And yeah, it was fucking stressful. Affects our performance massively, but it is what it is. Mykonos was booked as like, I guess, the second like part of like the whole Hustle House thing that we did in Marbella. I'm gonna sound like a right tit saying this, but Marbella is definitely tops Mykonos in a lot of ways. Mykonos is probably the most expensive place I've ever fucking been. It's terrible to get around. We couldn't book a villa, so we're all in separate hotels. But still a massive vibe, less of a send than that one was. Like the first 3 nights we went out, first night was very, very, very heavy. I almost felt guilty because I'm like, fuck, a lot of work shit to do, I'm out here. But it was like a lot of networking. I wanted to complete a deal with these guys I was out here with, handshake on that, which we've now done. But yeah, I feel like the whole working abroad thing and working, you know, having that freedom, like Bali laptop lifestyle, being able to work from a laptop in cafes, whether it's Bali, fucking Marbella, Mykonos, fucking brains fried from the sun. Bali, Mykonos, Marbella, you know, places in Europe, Barcelona, like where I was 2 weeks ago. I'm gonna sound so ungrateful saying this, but I think I've come to the conclusion that like a trip for me, I prefer when it's a holiday and I'm not actually working or I'm not trying to work like fully flat out. Whereas this trip, I'm sat here, the Wi-Fi's alright, but it's massively fucking windy, so calls are like impossible. You know, you lose that routine, that like creature comforts of home, and like, don't get me wrong, I fucking love traveling and I feel very fortunate to be able to do it. And I've done it a lot for like the past 5-6 years now, basically whenever I fancy, and I've got a great group of mates to do it with, but I don't know what it is. It's like trying to mix pure focused work with being away and the temptation to like send it on an evening, etc., etc. It ends up, there's this weird anxiety I get from just fucking being like almost in the middle. It's like, am I fully committed to work and we feel great because we're getting on with shit and we're progressing, or should I be enjoying where I am a bit more in the sense that like, should I just be relaxing with a book, sunbathing, all that sort of good stuff? And I try and do a bit of both, but I think it's because I'm trying to do a bit of both that ends up feeling, I don't know, like this is weird, like limbo. And then I've really noticed it this week, and I think I tweeted about it the other day, and like it's actually really bothering me. And I've probably been way too honest saying this, but like I'm actually a bit worried that I've done this sort of stuff so much and been to so many beautiful places and travelled, and it's like, fuck, I'm not sure I get the same pleasure or like enjoyment or joy from it anymore. And it's not just travelling, it's like, I think it's mainly travelling where I notice it, because I'm in like a beautiful place, you know, and I get messages all the time saying, you know, you have my dream life, etc., etc. And I'm very aware that in many ways I do, and I'm very fortunate to do what I do, even though there's a terrible amount of work and stress, of course, that goes into it now and then. But yeah, it's weird, like, I don't know, I find myself, I'm very, very, very guilty of the grass is always greener. So like when I'm in Mykonos, I'm like, we're talking about, I want to go to Bali next month. And then when I'm in Bali, because it was the same when I was back home, I was like, oh, I'm so keen to go to Mykonos. The second I get to Mykonos, I'm talking about Bali. I find it very hard to be like present. And that's something I really need to work on, just as a person in general. But yeah, I've just really noticed it this week, and it's not necessarily a negative thing, it's just like a self-awareness. But yeah, I find it quite hard to deal with, to be fair, because my character is always, what's next, you know, more. where's the next trip? What am I doing next week? You know, like, how can I scale this thing now? Like, how can we get to the next level of numbers now? And in the past, it was like, I had my dream car when I was 22, but then it wasn't my dream car anymore because I wanted the one that was more expensive, and the roof came off, and I just noticed that pattern in myself, and I'm really, really, really trying to figure it out and be more present and appreciate. It's not that I don't appreciate things. I think I just maybe I keep saying it, but I'm not present enough to fully enjoy them. And then it's often a case of, I'll go back from this trip and I'll be like, fuck, that was beautiful. There were some great memories. It was an amazing place, but I didn't appreciate it necessarily in the moment. So yeah, I mean, this isn't business talk, but it's maybe like online entrepreneur freedom talk, and maybe an interesting perspective, because a lot of people look at me and think, and this sort of lifestyle generally, and I know plenty of people that, you know, would love to work online and stuff, but and have that freedom to go anywhere, and having the freedom's great, but yeah, I don't know, I guess like two things I'm trying to say is, firstly, when you're mixing kind of work and travel/leisure, they almost both sacrifice a little bit, and they both lose that element of focus and true enjoyment. Like, you're either fully working or you're fully enjoying yourself, but when you're in between, it's difficult. So that's kind of the first thing. So basically, I prefer to travel if it's like a full holiday. This one was a bit more last minute, and I guess I'm guilty of just, fuck it, summer, I wanted to come Mykonos, never been, beautiful place, and it has been amazing. But yeah, that's just my own internal observation. And then the other thing, which is probably more, I don't know if it's worrying, but I've just become acutely aware of it, is that I just don't enjoy things as much that I used to really yearn for and, you know, really desire, like the ability to go nice places, nice dinners, all this sort of shit. And it ultimately comes back to like more things and experiences isn't necessarily better. Certainly not the more expensive ones. It doesn't make it better. It's like you have to figure out what you actually enjoy, and most importantly, it's the people around you when you're doing certain things. Like, I would rather be in a rainy room in London with people I love and care about and are friends with and value than be here by myself, for example. Obviously, I'm not here by myself, but that's kind of the point on that. I think maybe it's an interesting perspective. Because yeah, that's just what I wanted to say, and this week's really highlighted it. Speaking about it now is kind of therapeutic, to be honest. I've spoken to my mates about it quite a bit, and I think maybe it's an entrepreneurial trait, because my mind's always fucking thinking. I'm going on a tangent here, but I find that quite difficult, because I'm always thinking of the next idea, whether it's fucking podcast, business, and sometimes I feel like paralysed by ideas, to be honest. And then like elements of my personal life. I think a lot, and I think it gives me a lot of brain power, and it's a good thing. It has served me well, but sometimes I wish I could just switch off and lie down with the book for 12 hours. I really fucking do. But I find that so hard to do, and my mind's always racing 1,000 miles an hour. And when I'm in serene places like this, it comes to fruition more, because, you know, I notice everyone else relaxing maybe, and I think, fuck, I wish I could switch off, but I just don't. I find it very, 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 very hard to do that. I mean, running helps me a lot with that. I've been training a lot out here still for the marathon, which is in like 10 weeks. But yeah, I guess this is maybe an episode that's a bit more about just maybe relatable shit from another entrepreneur that's fucking figuring it out. But in terms of actual business stuff, yeah, I've touched on it a few times. We've kind of handshook on it, documents sent out, looking to close another round of funding by the end of the month, which is bigger than the first round, quite a much bigger valuation, for obvious reasons, and more importantly, feels like I'm assembling a real dream team of people that can really help and mentor me, particularly one of them, who's already been kind of doing that in a way. But yeah, it's good to have him like officially coming on board. I think it's best for both of us that he's like financially invested. And yeah, like on that, because we've spent so much time speaking, like me, him, a bunch of other guys here, you don't realise the value of like mentorship. I don't know if that's the right word, but like it's probably the only person I've ever seen as like a mentor. But the value of that and experience, like proper experience input, until you have it. And I think also it's taken me getting to this stage of maturity, which I mean, I'm not the most mature cunt, but definitely way more than I was like 2 years ago, when I was a bit of an arrogant shit, to be honest. But now I realise how much value that having the right people involved can actually bring. I'm not doing it all myself, which I definitely tried to do in the past. So yeah, I'm excited about that, because I feel like it's almost, I think I've put myself in a fortunate position now, granted, you know, from 6-7 years of fucking previous stuff, where it's like, I think I'm in the right vehicle at the right time. I've got more than enough capital to execute as quick and as boldly as I would like. And I also have a dream team of fucking very, very, very smart minds from a few different industries, e-com, consumables, you know, other guys that are running brands, mates of mine, people that have raised 9 figures for a big fintech company. Like, I feel like, Christ, if I can't make this work over the next sort of 3 years, 3 to 5 years, maybe 3 years, to an exit, which is my goal, then like, it would really be my fault. Like, I've got a very solid foundation, all the boxes are ticked. It's just now a case of executing it and not making any major fuckery mistakes along the way, I think, to get to where I want to be. And I've written down exactly what I want the outcome to be. And I think a 3-year timeline, because I was always a bit ambiguous on that. I was maybe like, oh, I want to build a £100 million brand. But then one of the guys I'm talking about has got me a lot clearer on, all right, that's all well and good, you know, £100 million brand, you know, valuation. What does that actually mean for you? If it doesn't necessarily mean anything for you in terms of like personal wealth, an exit position, etc. So now I'm redefining like the financial goal of the business to be like, my money off the table after tax. Like, what does that look like? What does that amount buy me in terms of freedom and lifestyle, like forever? What's the minimum it realistically needs to be? And how much is enough, really? And then putting a proper plan in place with people that have actually done that to that level and far beyond, to execute it over the next, I'm calling it 3 years, because I think I can do this in 3 years. And yeah, it's a fucking long way to go, of course, but it's exciting but terrifying. And you know, I think I'm not going to talk about the exact goal maybe in this episode, but if I can get to that number in 3 years, which, you know, I'd be 29, then fuck me, life would be pretty, I mean, there'd be different challenges at that point, I'm sure, but life would look pretty perfect for me in terms of like the life I've always dreamt of, elements of which I've experienced, but you know, getting to that next level. And yeah, I've got a bit clearer on that recently, and I think having people around me that have actually done that, and like I said, beyond, and have achieved that financially, achieved that freedom, makes it feel way more tangible, because it's not some pipe dream, and I have a plan in place on how to do it. And it's just a case of winning the fucking day. Like, have a plan for realistically like the year, break that down into quarters, break that down into months. Obviously things change, you pivot, as I've already had to do a lot in the first 3 months, but just feels like it comes down to winning the day. And I know it's so stereotypical, but being like a mad overthinker myself, my mind's just always, you know, what happens if we get here, what happens if we don't, etc. It's just like, fucking hell, just focus on the day ahead of me, execute that, win that, you know, complete that mission, and then move on to the next day. And over time, the fucking days add up. And it kind of dawned on me, I've actually never spent more than 12 months focused exclusively on one brand. And I've done loads of shit over the years, as anyone that watches this knows. But fuck, if I can do 3 years, like laser focused, and just focus, discipline, consistency, time, that's what it feels like with any task, and certainly this. So yeah, there's a lot going on. Still working on getting TikTok back, Instagram is back, Google Shopping is still not quite back. There's a load of fucking private jets flying in there, some massive fuck off yachts. Elon Musk was here the other day. There's levels to this shit, of course. But yeah, back to the UK in 2 days, then I'm probably going to Bali in August for a while. I fucking love Bali. I think it's probably better than Mykonos. I'm not complaining, Mykonos is beautiful, but Bali's like, it's got a part of me from back in the day. But yeah, there's a lot going on. That was a bit of a philosophical episode, probably just sharing my fucking thoughts, to be honest. Therapy for myself when I'm sat overlooking the mountains and the sea. But yeah, I'll catch you in the next episode. Cheers for watching.